this ended up surprising me because there's new legislation coming out through Mike Johnson on election integrity. It is being used for Trump's campaign. Mike Johnson here is helping Trump's campaign. Take a look here. This is Trump destroying Alvin Bragg and saying he will testify against him in New York.
You plan to testify in your trial in New York?
Yeah, I would testify, absolutely. It's a scam. It's a scam. That's not a trial. That's not a trial. That's a scam. If you read Jonathan Turley, if you read Andy McCarthy.
You're welcome, because you will have read Jonathan Turley and Andrew McCarthy if you watch this show. So please subscribe. These are the two main guys that I quote on most of these cases because they're so good. And now Trump's quoting them, my two main guys. And he mentions them again. Danny Urbina. Trump announces he plans to testify in DA Alvin Bragg's New York case against him. Quote, yeah, I would testify. What they're doing is a crime. I'm testifying. I'm not sure if he will. He could just be saying it. But let's continue with him and watch this posturing. He has Mike Johnson beside him here, nodding the whole time.
If you read the legal, they said there's not even a case there. That's election interference by the Biden administration. They actually took their top guy, one of their top guys, put him into the DA's office to run it, and it's a shame. What they have done is incredible. It's election interference, and it's got to stop. It's a third world country. This country's never done it. But you read Jonathan Turley, you read Andrew McCarthy.
Jonathan Turley, Andrew McCarthy. That's the second time he used them. I just quoted Andy McCarthy yesterday. Guys, these are the top tier. Remember how I said these are also never Trumpers, and they were totally defending him because their legal scholarship is so respected that Trump is quoting them. He doesn't quote these rag, terrible newspapers and sources of rah MAGA. He quotes the people that are normally against him, but their judicial philosophy is considered very sober.
You read the legal scholars, every single one of them said that whole thing is a scam. It's not even a crime. And what they're doing is a crime. They are criminals. Right, Bob?
That's Trump on the whole case being a fraud. But now he's going into the jury selection. Watch this. Watch how he, and I think all of us, does anyone feel confident about jury selection in New York? They should have changed the venue to make it safe.
And what are you watching as jury selection begins in New York?
Well, you know, jury selection is largely luck. It depends who you get. It's very unfair that I'm having a trial there.
Why does Trump not seem so bugged? Because this is a campaign speech, guys. He does not care about his trial.
It's very unfair that we have this judge who hates Trump and has tremendous conflict, as you know, tremendous conflict. Nobody can believe that this judge isn't recusing himself. The conflict is at a level that nobody's ever seen before. So I have that, and I have venue. We have all these things that we've asked for. They don't give us anything. It's a witch hunt that takes place in New York, and that is taking place, and it's very bad for New York, and it's very bad for the judicial system in New York.
Everyone's going like, well, it's so unfair what's happening to him on the jury and trial. He's like, oh, no, I'm going to go to trial. The jury's going to find me guilty on Stormy Daniels on this made up charge. I'm going to get fully charged. They didn't move the venue. This is a made up crime. The crime doesn't even exist. And by the way, it also sets him up for appeal. He has a reason to appeal. It was so unfair. The more unfair the cards are stacked against him before he goes into court, and the case has to play out. He always tries to get an appeal before he goes to court. You can't get an appeal before you go to court. Okay, you have to go to court, be found guilty, then comes the appeal.
Interference. We have a president that doesn't know where he is. He can't speak. The whole world is collapsing. The world is on fire. They have no respect for our country anymore. And the only way he thinks he can win is by doing this, trials of Trump. We have Fawny in Atlanta, who's been so discredited now. That was a setup with her boyfriend so they could take trips and take a lot of money out.
See, he's going through all the bullet points of this is his campaign speech. This is vote for me, and it's working.
And that's something that should be dismissed. Not just the prosecutor dismissed, the case should be dismissed. Every single one of them said, look at what happened with Biden. He gets off scot-free. With 50 years of documents and classified information, he gets off scot-free. And I'm still fighting that trial. The whole thing is a disgrace, and it's a disgrace to our nation.
All true. And now he throws it to Mike Johnson. Watch him in the back. He's like the stern, approving dad. He's trying to throw a little cover for Mike Johnson, who's getting in some heat with Marjorie Taylor Greene in the Senate. They could vacate him, and Trump and Mike are united, but Mike had to come up with this bill to protect, to stirring up elections.
And so what we're going to do is introduce legislation to require that every single person who registers to vote in a federal election must prove that they're an American citizen first. You have to prove it.
He's trying to make a giant federal law. It's not going to work. They won't be able to pass it. But he is going to make it a campaign issue right now, and he's brilliant. They can run on this.
Our bill also will require states to remove non-citizens from their existing voter rolls. That's a big problem, too. And it will provide access to databases from the Department of Homeland Security and the Social Security Administration to help the states administer this.
So why do this if they're not going to win, if they can't possibly get this passed? And they can't, because this is also a campaign run. Mike Johnson is campaigning with Trump right now, saying, hey, the illegals are coming to vote. And we put this bill up there to reverse that. It's not about the bill passing. This is about them running on that point in the election and winning.
As the entity that is responsible for regulating federal elections, Congress has this responsibility. We cannot wait for widespread fraud to occur, especially when the threat of fraud is growing with every single illegal immigrant that crosses that border. This is something most Americans are deeply concerned about. The latest poll says 78% of the Americans who are polled say that preventing illegal immigrants from voting in our elections is a top priority.
How hard is it to run on that issue? 78% of Americans said they're concerned with illegals voting. So now they're on the campaign trail saying we have this new bill we're going to pass into law. They're not going to pass it into law. They're going to try, that 78% of Americans agree with. So this is a vote for Trump. And now Mike Johnson really jams it up against the Democrats, saying, watch how they vote. Because again, they want you to vote Democrats out and vote Republicans in.
When we put this bill on the floor, you're going to see a record vote by Republicans and Democrats. You'll see that the Republicans stand for election integrity. And then we'll be able to ask this very important question of the Democrats. They're going to have to go on record. Do you believe that Americans and Americans alone should be the ones who vote in American elections? We're about to find out their answer. And I think that will be a very interesting one for everybody to see.
And they're going to use this on the Trump campaign all the way to November, that the Democrats are against you citizens voting and for illegals voting. Does this work? Does this strategy work for Trump? Because I think it does. This has been Doug in Exile.